I'm Ashley Dvorkin for Fox Lifestyle. The farm-to-table food movement has become common practice in kitchens across the country. One chef on top of this trend was James Beard Award winner Dan Barber of New York restaurants Blue Hill and Blue Hill at Stone Barns. But now Barber is encouraging people to take farm-to-table a step further with his third plate theory. He joins us now to tell us about it. Welcome, Dan.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
Nice to see you. Let's start with that. What is the third plate theory?
Yeah. Well, the third plate, it's really a metaphor more than a theory, or more than actually a plate of food. It's a metaphor for a way of eating in the future that I think has the potential to be more delicious and definitely more nutritious and better for the planet. We tend to, in the farm-to-table movement, we tend to reduce complicated ideas about agriculture and about what we should be eating into labels like local and organic and biodynamic and kind of bumper sticker ideas that allow us to navigate the world of choosing what's for dinner. And what I did is create another label in the third plate, but what I'm trying to do with it is bring these very important ideas together in a pattern of eating, and not just to support what we covet, which are certain labels or certain foods, hopefully from a local farmer, hopefully grown in the right way. But how do you put that all together? And that's what that's the challenge of the third plate for the future.
So some people may know those certain foods that you're referring to, the healthy options, but what are other ingredients that you're encouraging they add to the menu and add to the plate?
I'm kind of encouraging the between crops. So we talk about the healthy ingredients in terms of eat more vegetables, eat more whole grains. What we don't talk about is, well, what does it take to get a truly delicious tomato or a truly delicious carrot? What does it take to get whole wheat that has actual nutrition and great flavor in it? Those are decisions, really negotiations that farmers are making with the landscape to get those crops to be healthy and delicious and profitable for them to sell. And what we tend to ignore are these crops that support the crops that we covet. And so you've heard of nose-to-tail eating of the animal. That's kind of the credo of the farm-to-table movement. This is nose-to-tail eating of the whole farm, which is to say, instead of just, for the example that really starts off the book, is that I support a farmer that farms the most delicious wheat. And I baked the most incredible bread with it. And I went to his farm to learn, well, how does he grow this wheat? And I look around and I didn't see much wheat. What I saw were buckwheat and barley and millet. And I saw legume crops like beans, like kidney beans. I saw cover crops like vetch and clover. I saw all these different crops that were planted at very particular times, in very particular rotations, which means in a very particularly timely manner, one after the other, to get the soil ready for my wheat. And what I realized standing there was I wasn't supporting any of these other crops. I was only supporting the cream of the crop. And that's an analogy for what we need to do as we look forward to a more delicious future.
What has been one ingredient that you've introduced in a recipe at one of your restaurants that's become the most popular? One of these that you're speaking of that people aren't as familiar with?
You know what I did is actually it wasn't an ingredient. It was I took, standing in this field, looking at these dozens of crops that I didn't support. I said right there, I'm going to create a dish. I'm going to infuse these crops into my menu and into my cooking. And that's been my challenge now since that experience, and it'll continue to be my challenge for my lifetime. But right away, I created this dish called rotation risotto. So rotation risotto is a risotto of all these uncoveted, often ignored grains like the millets and the buckwheats and these beans like kidney beans that this farmer Klaus grows. All the things that get that soil beautifully prepped and ready and locked and loaded for the wheat that we love and all the other vegetables that we covet. And I made a risotto of it. He doesn't grow rice, so it's a risotto sort of in quotes. But it's a beautiful dish, and it gives people a association to an iconic Italian dish and a delicious, homey, comforting dish. But it's made with what this landscape where we're sitting, can provide and provide really well for us. And so I wanted to. That's sort of the future, I think, of really good cooking. Is how do you create food, a meal, and a diet around what the landscape is telling you it wants to grow.
Yeah, and you're saying, so the future of how these meals would be prepared, how far in the future do you see this being adapted, by other chefs or adopted by other chefs and used in the industry? What are you hearing in the industry? Are people excited to go this way?
I've been getting too much credit for inventing this idea. In fact, what I'm doing is reporting on it. I mean, maybe I'm synthesizing a little bit more than it's been synthesized, especially into a book, but But there are so many chefs out there. It is the most exciting time to be a chef and to be an eater, because the democratization of good food is everywhere. It is trickling down, to use one phrase, that is infusing itself in the culture. And so my using these lowly, uncoveted grains, it's really what every chef is doing. They might not be putting it into risotto. They might not be making a statement about the need for healthy rotations for a good, healthy agriculture system, but they're doing it because they recognize that this is where they can target on the best flavor for their customers. And that I think is the ultimate lesson of Third Plate and of all of our good eating, is that when you eat truly good food, truly delicious food, you end up supporting the kind of landscape we all want to live in.
Great. Well, thank you so much. Where can people go for more information? I know there's the book, you have a website, also your Twitter.
Blue Hill Restaurant.
And again, they can also find the book, The Third Plate. Dan Barber, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. And thank you so much for watching. For Fox Lifestyle, I'm Ashley Dvorkin.